Hello, hello, welcome back to my channel. It's Rachel, the Student Witch. How are you doing? And hello from the Southern Hemisphere. I've seen a few witches and pagans and alternative spiritual types doing this tag, and I'm fairly new to the Southern Hemisphere. So I thought that I would jump in and join the fun and represent the Southern Hemisphere a little bit. So yeah, let's dive into the Witches Down South tag. And just to give credit where credit is due, this tag was made by Alice in Tarotland, and that's actually a fairly new channel for me. So please go support Alice in Tarotland. I'll have her channel linked down below. Thank you for creating this tag. Yeah, let's get into it. Where are you based? Question number 1, and I'll have the questions listed down below in the description box as well. I am based in Santiago, Chile. I just moved to Chile. I flew here with my partner, who is a Chilean citizen, on June 22nd of this year. So we've only been here not even 3 months yet, but I'm in my apartment. It's so crazy how quickly we were able to set up our new home from scratch, from literally nothing, just some suitcases. But yeah, we moved here on June 22nd, which was the solstice. So we left the United States, where we were living before, at the height of the summer solstice, and we arrived here in the winter solstice, which is so witchy. I totally planned that out. That was definitely scheduled, and that date, that specific date, was chosen on purpose for that, like, liminal crossing, entering into a new life, a new opportunities kind of moment. Do you identify, question number 2, do you identify as a witch or by another name? I do identify as a witch. I've been fascinated by the witch archetype for a long time, since I was a child. And I've also always had kind of a feminist tendencies, even from when I was too young to even understand or know what feminism was. For example, I was raised Roman Catholic, and I remember being explicitly taught when I was young, like between the ages of 10 and 15, somewhere in there. I was taught by my Sunday school teachers that, you know, women can't hold any real positions of authority or power in the Catholic Church. Of course, they can be nuns and all that, but they can't be priests, they can't be popes, you know, they can't hold high positions of power, and I just refused that. I just questioned that. I didn't buy their reasoning. I thought it was a bunch of bullshit. And so that kind of feminist fire has been in me for a long time, like I said, since before I even knew what feminism was. And so now, as an adult in my 30s, I could see that the witch for me has been an archetype. And of course, you don't have to identify as female to be a witch, but that witch archetype has in the past been attributed to or forced upon or used as an excuse to torture and kill women and feminine or femme identifying people. And so to take that term back and to own it is like a great subversive technique, but it's also very empowering. And I mean, I don't identify as a witch just as an archetype or as a feminist symbol. I identify as a witch as someone who knows their power and knows how to use it. And I use ritual, I use spellcraft, I use meditation, I use dream work, I use shadow work, I use all of these things to get to know myself, to know my power, and then use it to manifest my will and manifest my goals and dreams and desires, right? So very empowering. So yes, I do identify as a witch. I'm the student witch. What's question number 3? What's your belief, worldview, or current paradigm? I guess I would break it down. If I had to summarize everything, I would say 2 things. Number 1, I do practice chaos magic. That is like my magical paradigm that I work with, and so within chaos magic belief is understood to be a tool. Like, you can use belief as a tool, and I think that's a really important exercise for me personally, because it keeps me from over-identifying or investing too much of my concept of myself into my beliefs, because beliefs are subject to change. It's completely okay to change your beliefs, right? Your political beliefs, spiritual, religious beliefs, etc. And so if I consciously use belief as a tool, that just provides enough distance between my concept of self and the belief itself, so I can explore that distance, and I can use belief as a tool and explore all those other realms, right? So that's one half of it. So that's one half of my paradigm. The other half would be, if I had to summarize myself into just like one sentence or one set of key concepts, I would say I am a godless pagan chaos witch. The chaos part I already explained, more or less. I mean, chaos magic is more than just using belief as a tool, but that's an important part of it in the approach to magic. The godless pagan part has to do with my appreciation for, admiration of, worship of physical reality, my body and my environment, my relationship to nature, understanding myself as a part of nature, not as something separate from it, but something that I am a part of, that I interact with, that I'm dependent upon. So that's how I would kind of view paganism. And the godless part is, even though I work with a goddess that you can see behind me here, I do not believe that deity or deities, gods, goddesses, are entities that are independent of me. I don't think, like the way that Christians would understand their God, for example, I don't believe that. That gods or goddesses, divinities or whatever, are just entities that are outside of us, that are independent of us, intelligences that exist outside of us. I do not believe that. But I hesitate to call myself an atheist, because atheism is just, if you want to sum it all up, it's just the lack of belief in God or gods or goddesses. Like, that's all it is. It's the lack of theism. However, the term atheist, at least in the West, from what I've seen, is often charged with notions of rationality, and almost as if like atheists, a lot of atheists come out of like the dominant Western religions, and so they just replace their previous belief in God with a belief in the scientific method kind of thing. And the scientific method is very important, is revolutionary. I'm not saying we need to abandon it, but I do recognize its limitations and how it's not universally applicable, and like rationality, even though rational thinking and rationality is important, there's other modes of thinking and being in the world that are also important and deserving of exploration, right? And so I prefer to call myself a godless pagan versus an atheist pagan or an atheist witch, because atheism has that like, oh, so you don't believe in anything, which is a misconception about atheism, or you are just like super duper into the science, or you value rational thinking above all else, and I don't. So I'm a godless pagan chaos witch, if I had to sum it all up. Okay, let me pull up the questions again because my phone went to sleep. Question number 4, what are your current go-to tools? Well, this has to do with the fact that I recently had to move here. So before leaving the US, my partner and I had to get rid of, like, throw away, donate, leave stuff in my parents' basement, you know. We had to get rid of, like, the majority of our possessions. So I actually had a giveaway where I gave away a lot of my witchy tools and paraphernalia. So right now I've kind of, since we're still fairly new here, and I'm definitely new to the Southern Hemisphere and to living in Santiago, I'm still exploring the city. I really had to strip everything about my practice back and be very minimalist, at least here in the beginning. So my go-to tools at the moment are the few crystals that I was able to fit into my luggage and take with me. Palo Santo, incense, and things like sea salt and water. So, for example, let me pick up the camera here so you can see a little bit of my basic altar setup that I have so far. I have some representations of the elements back here in this corner. Water, a little container for Palo Santo to represent air here, and then salt for earth, and then there's a candle back there for fire. I have my tarot deck, the Mary L, one of the few tarot decks I was able to take with me. Some of my crystals, my favorite and most important crystals that I was able to take with me, a little statue of my goddess, and then a place to burn incense and my my prayer beads here. So incense, Palo Santo, elements, like basic representations of the elements, and my few tarot decks. I think I was able to bring like only 5 or 6, like 5 tarot decks and 1 oracle deck, and all my other decks I had to leave in the US and I missed them so bad. But I'm excited to buy some more while I'm here. Okay, next question. Question number 5. Do you cast a circle? If so, what do you associate with the directions? So, I don't normally cast circles. However, I'm feeling the inclination to begin to explore that practice. So earlier this year, before leaving the US, I bought a copy of that book, RitualCraft. I can't remember the author's names. Oh, it's driving me nuts. I'll have a link to it down below if you want to check it out. And even though I didn't finish reading the whole thing because it's like this thick, I did read some of the important chapters because the whole book is about crafting ritual and the importance of ritual, the transformative power of ritual, and what you can do with the energy that you generate during ritual for spellcraft, for healing, transformation, and all of that fun stuff. And so part of an essential step for me for a ritual is to create sacred space, to define the sacred space and time. Because when you enter that ritual mindset, you are entering into, like, I would say, an altered, a separate sense of space and time that exists, for at least for the duration of that ritual. It exists outside of mundane consensus reality and time, right? And I think that's what casting a circle would mean for me. I've thought about like associating each direction with a different archetype or goddess or deity, entity, whatever, that I can call upon to inspire me and draw energy from for magical workings and spellcraft and for ritual transformation. So that is something I'm definitely planning on looking into here soon, once the chaos of moving abroad kind of settles down and once we're more kind of established here. So long story short, I don't currently cast a circle, but I want to start and explore what casting a circle means to me, as, you know, I'm not a member of a coven, or I'm not a member of an established tradition. I'm just going on my wild, crazy, chaotic journey here. So, yeah. Okay, next question. Number 6. Do you work with the seasons or the wheel of the year? I do. And man, I actually, here soon in the Southern Hemisphere, it's the month of September. At the moment of this recording, we're in September and we are approaching the equinox, and so this will be my first spring equinox, or Ostara, down here in the Southern Hemisphere. But my sense of the seasons and time in general is just all sorts of discombobulated. I'm going to go more into detail about this in a video that I'm going to make specifically about, you know, my first Ostara or spring equinox down here in the Southern Hemisphere. But, you know, we left the Northern Hemisphere at the height of summer and we arrived during the depths of winter. And this year, the calendar year of 2019, I will not have a fall. I will not have a Samhain or a fall equinox at all. So that's kind of sad because I love autumn, but it's also, I just feel all sorts of discombobulated, but I'm trying to find meaning and power in that discombobulation. Is that even a word? Who knows? But long story short, again, I do work with the seasons. I like to kind of schedule my witchy studies and my practice and my spellcraft around the seasons. And so I'm just I'm trying to find my witchy groove here in a completely new environment with the new seasons. Okay. Question number 7. Do you have a consistent daily or regular practice? I do, and it's very simple. I come to this altar in the morning, usually after breakfast and after my partner leaves for work. I work from home because I'm just writing my dissertation and doing research and all that stuff. So once he's gone, I come in here, I light my candle, I light some Palo Santo and just kind of clear myself and offer some Palo Santo to my goddess. I pick a tarot card and kind of meditate on that day's tarot card, and then I light some incense and I actually walk around in every room of the apartment and kind of just focus on blessing and protecting the apartment with the incense. And then I go to the kitchen because from our kitchen window we have an amazing view of the Andes Mountains. And they're just gorgeous. I can't believe that I'm here. Like, sometimes I forget that I'm in South America now and I'm here to live. Like, I'm not just visiting, I'm here to do research. I'll write my dissertation from here. I'm gonna do research down here. It's just like, it's crazy. Okay, next question. Are there challenges / blocks you find specific to witching in the Southern Hemisphere? Again, I think my answer to this question is going to be very specific to my current situation of being very new here, but definitely having to leave behind a bunch of my tarot and oracle decks and a bunch, like over half of my crystal collection. They're all in my parents' house right now up in the United States, in the Northern Hemisphere. And so starting from basically scratch has been a huge challenge. I haven't had the chance to really explore the city and try to find those kind of esoteric or occult bookshops or witchy shops or anything like that. I'm excited to get out there and explore and to see what the city has to offer, but I am lucky that I live in a huge metropolitan area. Like, Santiago is definitely the biggest city in Chile. Over a third of the country's population lives just here. It's a city of, like, I think around 6 million people. So I have a feeling there's a lot out there. And the final question, question number 9, are there any Southern Hemisphere resources, books, blogs, YouTubers, etc. that you would recommend? So as far as books and blogs go, I'm less familiar with that, but definitely some YouTubers. The unfortunate thing is, though, it seems like, and this probably just has to do with language barriers and stuff, or maybe it just has to do with the fact that I just watch a lot more witchy, pagan-y, alternative, spiritually YouTubers who do speak English, but I have the feeling that the majority of them are in Australia, like Avalon Cameron and Katey Flowers. No, she doesn't identify as a witch, but she is, you know, in that alternative kind of pagan-y spiritual spectrum. And so there are quite a bit of Australian YouTubers. The Tarot Alchemist is actually in New Zealand. And again, she doesn't identify as a witch as far as I know, but I love her channel and her discussions about tarot and spiritual matters. I love it. So that's another great YouTuber. So I'll link all these people down below. But I'm not in an English-speaking part of the world. I'm in South America. I'm in a Spanish-speaking country. And so I have come across witchy, pagan-y YouTubers who do speak Spanish, but they're mostly in Spain, or at least the ones that I've come across. And so I actually want to use this question as like an opportunity. If anybody out there knows of any witchy, pagan-y, spiritually YouTubers that live in Latin America, but specifically South America, that would be awesome if you can, you know, let me know their names so I can find them down in the comments. A couple years ago, I did meet or come across a channel called the StudentWitch, and he was actually Chilean. And, you know, we interacted over YouTube, like through comments and stuff a few times, but then his channel kind of went dormant. Like, I don't even know if the channel exists anymore. If it does, I'll link him below, but I don't think he's active at all anymore. Which is unfortunate, but, you know, life happens. I don't know what happened, but so like he is one of the few, if not the only, South American YouTube witches, pagans that I've come across. So please let me know. And it's okay if they only make content in Spanish. I'm fairly fluent in Spanish, and even if they make content in Portuguese, because they're in Brazil, my Portuguese is pretty rusty, but I can generally follow what someone's talking about when they're speaking Portuguese. So link them below, because I would love to get to know and find out more about South American YouTuber witches and South American witches in general. So yeah, this has been the Witches Down South tag. If you are a witch, pagan, spiritual type in the Southern Hemisphere, please add your 2 cents. And until next time, many blessings and happy witching from the Southern Hemisphere. Bye!